Okay, so a man joining me on LWTV today. He's sold millions of records. He's just broke a world record, and he's definitely probably one of the best live performers I've ever seen with my own eyes. Jamie Cullum. Hey, man.
Oh, thank you, mate. That's really a lovely intro. I appreciate that. Thank you. And right back at you. You guys are amazing. I love your shows. I love your music. You're incredible.
Well, you don't have to say that, man. It looks like you're in a spaceship there. Is that where you craft all the stuff that you make?
This is my studio. My wife calls it my teenager's bedroom. It is stuffed full of all the stuff I've been collecting for the last 25 years. A lot of the stuff in here I bought before anyone thought any of this stuff was cool. So some of it I got bought out of old ladies' garages and, old keyboards and stuff that people are getting rid of, and now it's worth a bit. But this is where it all happens.
I buy all my clothes out of old ladies' garages. That's where I get all my...
Hopefully they know while you're doing it, right? You don't just kind of steal them and leave some money behind.
Yeah, I just creep in the dead of night and leave with a few frocks.
It's so 2020. I love it. Yeah. Brilliant.
So, like a big theme, I've been talking to a lot of my musical heroes throughout the, I feel very privileged to do that. And a big theme that's come up is like the idea of making it. So I wanted to ask you, Jamie Cullum, have you made it? Surely yes. And when was the moment that you realized that you'd made it?
It's a really multifaceted kind of question and answer that, because I have always come at it from the point of view of being a musician. When I think about being a musician, I am nowhere near. It's like Jupiter from Earth, you know? And that's not like humble brag or like some kind of mock, humility or anything. I'm around so many good musicians. I know what human beings are capable of at the instruments that I choose to play. So I'm often put back to earth as soon as I sit next to a piano player who's spent a lot of time working out something I'm trying to work out more than I have. Sitting next to another songwriter that's writing lyrics that I can only dream of, melodies crafted that I long to craft, you know? So there's that. In terms of career, sometimes it does feel like that because I can make stuff happen. Like this Christmas album I just made, I knew I wanted to make a big Christmas record with an orchestra and a big band and record it in a really great studio, and I managed to make that happen. So the fact that that was able to happen made me feel like, oh, that feels like the position of someone who's made it. But then as soon as it comes out, I think, oh my God, this is it. This is my last one. They'll never let me do this again, you know? And of course, it's all your demons telling you, because no one lets you do anything. You do it. You do what you want. Sometimes you won't always be able to make it like this, but the idea of making it is a load of rubbish. It's like, if you're an artist, you just keep going. You always move on to the next thing. And things fail. Some things do better than other times. Some things do really well. Some things don't do as well. And it just all adds up to a body of work, I reckon.
I think that's interesting that there's still like an element of vulnerability with even like you releasing a record. Because I have that. I'm just really scared. I'll put my heart and soul into something, and then you're going to release it into the world, and you're so worried about what people will think of it. And that's interesting to me that you still feel that way.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think my general feeling is that you will get some form of abuse with whatever you put out, right? So that just happens. I'm definitely fine with that part, because I think that's just human nature and the kind of time we live in. I do, when I put out a piece of work, again, similarly, you know, my heart and soul goes into it. I want it to find its audience of people that love it. It doesn't need to be massive. It just needs, you know, when people take any of your music to their hearts, then you've achieved something. And then if you've done enough to keep going, then it's a tick. And I think now, kind of 8 records in, like, as long as you can keep going and some people are digging it, then I reckon you're doing all right. If you feel like you have to have a #1 record every time, then I think that is a recipe for some major stress.
Yeah, I think so too. You were saying before about sitting next to songwriters with melodies and lyrics that you can only dream of, but you've got the Acclaim Award for being a songwriter. You won an Ivor Novello this year, which is, are you going to show it?
There it is. Look,
check it out, man. That must have been a moment. Like, as a songwriter, for me, that would be, you know, that's the Oscar, isn't it? That's the one.
It is an amazing honor, I've got to say, and it is It is definitely, as you say, as a fellow songwriter, you know the importance of the Ivor Novellos because it's voted for by other songwriters. You're in amazing company. So I think the song that I won for, The Age of Anxiety, it had kind of a moment, and it felt relevant and well crafted to the people that were judging it that year. And I'm really grateful for that, because I haven't always had like a, I should say, reputation as a songwriter, but, you know, perhaps I was more of a performer, someone who covered other people's songs, someone who'd had a successful couple of records. But as a songwriter, you know, Age of Anxiety was not a hit anywhere. And still remains not a hit by any stretch of the imagination. You know, it doesn't have millions and millions of streams or anything like that. It's just a song that year, the people that were judging the Ivor Novellos really took to their hearts. And for me, it's a huge impetus to keep going. It's a huge, it gave me a lot of inspiration that I was on the right track and focusing on songwriting more than anything else. Because sometimes I think, oh, should I just go back to doing just straight jazz covers and stuff? Maybe that's what but you know, I want to write. That's what I want to do.
Do you think that's your best song?
I think it's one of the best songs. Yeah. I would say it's in my top kind of 3 or 4 of the ones that I've written. Yeah.
I find with songwriting that sometimes songs can just happen and just, they literally just present themselves to you. It's like they're writing themselves. And then sometimes you have to, it's a bit more laborious and you have to try harder. With The Age of Anxiety, which one was it? Oh,
it was definitely a try hard.
Was it?
It took a year,
Wow.
that song, really. And I'm similarly to you. There are songs that I've written that have done really well that I'm proud of that took under an hour. This was not one of them. I had a title. 2 months later, I had a couple of verse ideas, and then it had about 10 different choruses. It presented itself as one of those songs that needed to have absolutely no chance of a hole. And I think it wasn't that I felt like I needed to over-labor it in any way. It just asked itself to be written with huge amounts of care. Every kind of syllable, you know, I changed little tiny elements of it endlessly until the final version. I've got probably 22 different versions of that song.
Wow, that's interesting. So for the first time really in my kind of musical journey, we made a covers album during lockdown. And
yeah, it's brilliant. I loved it. Yeah, it's super
thanks,
cool.
Man. Thank you. It was really interesting for me to produce and arrange songs that had already been written, because I'd never done that before. And that kind of gave me a huge insight into how other people write songs. And it was more like a study than a project. So like I found that my songwriting improved greatly after making that record, because I kind of went in and saw how some of the cogs were turning in some of these great songs. Do you think maybe you're such a good songwriter because of the covers that you did early in the career?
Yeah, you've really hit on something there. It's my firm belief that in order to really learn how to do something, you need to kind of imbibe the masters. And I remember I wanted to be a novelist when I was growing up. And as a teenager, I was really obsessed with Hunter S. Thompson, like a lot of people are. And I read his book of letters, and I read that he used to type out, he was obsessed with Ernest Hemingway, and he used to type out his books from beginning to end, so he could feel what it was like to write the words of Ernest Hemingway. So he has versions of all of Ernest Hemingway's books typed out. And I think it's the same with songs. If you know how you know, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas fits together and you can play it, it's like you feel the movement of it. If you know how the great songs by The Cure fit together, how the Bob Dylan's, you know, melodies fit with his poetry, it's like that can only be a good thing to teach you in your own songwriting, I think. And that's the school I reckon that we all go to, is learning other people's songs.
Yeah, definitely. And it was a fruitful experience for me. And it's something that I'm going to continue to do. Even if the songs never see the light of day, I know that if there's a song that I love, I'm going to do an arrangement of it just to like dissect it. But yeah, I think you're right. And that's well mad about, you know, typing out other people's words.
It's interesting that, isn't it? I've started trying to memorize some poems. In an effort to improve my lyric writing. I've got a book of, it's like memorize a poem a day or something. And it's a really good exercise, you know, kind of getting those words just as part of your kind of muscle memory. I think it's quite an interesting exercise, that as well. I probably did it at school, but I was never like a teenager who was majorly into poetry. It's kind of something I've got into as I've got a bit older.
Yeah, cool. So listen, I always I'm interested when I speak, because you are a famous person. You must think that. So I'm interested. I walked around Glastonbury with you. The last time we were hanging out, we were walking around Glastonbury. Everyone was stopping you for a picture. Ain't nobody stopped me. One person stopped me and was like, oh my God, I love Rag and Bone, man. So, so I was interested, as a famous person, do you ever get starstruck in situations when you're meeting famous people?
Well, it's funny you talk about Glastonbury, because I genuinely don't feel much like a famous person. I've hung out with very famous people, and walking down a street with Clint Eastwood and Pharrell Williams, and that kind of what being a famous person is, where you literally can't walk down the street. So yeah, I get starstruck all the time, but I think, obviously you're someone who likes having a conversation with people, as I do. And I think what I've realized is that a lot of people are totally normal just the second you start having a conversation with them, apart from Kanye. it was hard to have a conversation with. But no, I met Neil Young, and I would say that is the most starstruck. I literally just, I felt my kind of self shaking. I felt a bit like that first time I met Damon Albarn, because I'm such a fan of his. I'm so overawed, and I desperately wanted to be his friend. I think if I meet a famous person who I really want them to be my friend, it probably goes a bit wrong.
I think I'd be the same way. Well, Jamie, I consider you to be a friend. Thanks so much for being a friend of the show.
Me too, Tom. Thank you. Yeah, my absolute pleasure. And I think your open letter to creatives as well is a beautiful, beautiful piece of work. I was really moved by it when I heard it. Actually, it's real proper 2020 important stuff you've made there. So thanks for that, and much respect to you guys, and lots of love. Look after yourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, you too, man. Peace. Thanks so much.
Cheers, Tom, and thank you, and thanks for making the time as well. And good luck out there, man. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, see you soon, man. Good luck with the record. It's great.
Yeah, thanks, dude. Bye. Cheers.